Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining my session. I know the topic of this room today is disruption in testing. What are the threats coming up? We have talked about it yesterday at the meetup with Frank. Yes, AI is somehow of a threat, but it's actually the perception. But what AI cannot take away from us is the consciousness. And Maret made me cry today again, but in a good way, when she talked about the choices we make. The good ones or the bad ones. We can take the choice to be scared out of AI, or we can make the choice to embrace it and really make it an advantage for our careers. We can also make the choice to work as a team and to be conscious about doing the right thing all the time. And this is testing for me. Testing for me is about being conscious whether we do the right thing all the time. And today's talk is about team consciousness. Is the entire team on the same page about our user story, about our quality expectations, about how we're going to get there, about what we need to get there? And you heard that I like long titles, so it's a non-existent art yet. I hope we'll build it today together. Questions for the crowd. Very quick. What causes most bugs? 1, 2, 3. Yes, correct. One more. Code. Right, developers. What causes most delays then? Bugs, naturally. Time mismanagement. Here, you see the next one coming? What causes most frustrations? Bugs, delays, or unplanned work. There's always something unplanned. Yesterday we had this amazing tutorial with Mike and stakeholders management and expectation, and the perception of stakeholders to the team. They're always slow, they never meet their expectations or their promises or their commitments. There's always something unplanned. And what you hear at retrospectives, we should have refined this better. Well, you had the time to refine it. But how do you plan for the unplanned work? You can never plan it properly. Life happens as we make other plans. We cannot really predict. We cannot really be ready for what's coming up. There will always be unplanned work. There will always be ambiguities, misunderstandings, bugs, delays, and frustrations. It's a fact. It's our life in the software industry. Where to start from then? What to do? Is it hopeless? Leave out. I don't want to work in this industry. I want to go farming. Start with the story. The user story, and if you're here, you must really love a good user story. But you have never seen one. I've worked, as you hear, for 17 years as primary testing. I recently counted that I must have reported myself something around 5,000 bugs. And it's a very conservative approximation. These are the logged ones. I say it and I stand by it. Most of those bugs should have been requirements. Most of those bugs are missed communication. We could have talked about it. We just didn't. We could have written it down someplace. But it's documentation. We don't do it. We don't write. It's waste. There's a lot of drama around the user story. How to write good user story. Actually, the last year I spent thinking about how to write a good user story. I actually made a webinar, high-quality user stories. And you know what? It's a false assumption. There's no such thing as a good high-quality user story or a good user story. And it shouldn't be, because the user story is nothing but a conversation starter. It should be catchy, so you can have a nice opening line for the conversation. Hey, how are you doing? It should be meaningful, it should be relatable, it should be inspiring for the team to start to really flame that conversation. But it cannot be really good and descriptive and definitive. And it's not the requirement, because you cannot state a requirement for what you cannot describe a feature or a component in one sentence. It's impossible. And now I'm on the other side of the fence as a product owner, because I've never seen and worked with a good product owner either. So I decided, let's see why is it so difficult myself? It's really difficult, right, to describe the 20 pages software requirements, the specification. Do you remember those, some of you? In one sentence. The knowledge about a user story is still 20 pages. All the questions, comments, risks, considerations, issues, potential dependencies, all this knowledge about what are the expected results out of that user story is still 20 pages. It's just not written anywhere. But we have a remedy. We have the refinement meetings. How many of you are working in agile teams? Okay. Are you really agile, or you say you are? It doesn't matter. It is as much as agile as you feel it. You know, I don't really care. And it's, again, too much drama about being agile and writing good user story. That's not the most important thing. The most important thing, though, is that for years, one of the most important things, for years, we have had these refinement meetings in our calendars every week. And this is how all developers look like when they turn on their cameras. Usually they don't. We try to rush 8 to 12 user stories for an hour. Because we have to do the sprint planning on Monday, and the refinement meetings are typically on Wednesday afternoon, when developers are mostly focused on coding, typically. That's Wednesday. I don't know if you have noticed, but I have noticed this for my teams. Wednesday afternoon is when the most of the code is written. But you want them to start to switch their context for something that it's not clear when it will be planned at all. So take them out of their zone, of their flow, and start thinking, participate in a meeting that I, as a product owner, am not ready at all, and I've just scripted a couple of sentences for those stories. So I tried to rush 8 to 12 user stories for an hour and get the team to gain confidence that they will be ready to commit to deliver them in the next sprint. It's ridiculous. How would you expect a team reading one crappy sentence to commit to deliver those features in the next sprint if you don't know what's the output of this meeting is? And if you're rushing them, do you have any question? No, we'll figure it out. And engineers are brave people. Otherwise, no innovation would happen ever. Engineers will figure it out, and they do. But the amount of bugs, delays, and frustrations is higher and higher along the sprint. So my solution to the boring refinement meetings is something called, currently, maybe the title will evolve with time, but it's a new thing, so working title, user story analysis. Or an agenda for effective refinement meetings. A guideline, a framework, depending on what you use in your work. Do you have pen and pencil and a notepad? I want you to note down a user story. I don't have it on the slides intentionally, not that I forgot about it at all. Come on, who has? I need one or two. Yes, you have. So, I'm dictating. As a submissions manager, Denise, or Alex, or Peter, or Leila, or whatever name, wants to click on the records in the timeline/logs. Within the sub-panel, so that they can see the changes on a document. What do we do with this user story? And that's a good written user story. It actually kind of looks very well thought out. Somebody has put an effort to write this one sentence. All the parts are there. It follows the template. It might as well just get story pointed already and code written and everything done. Yeah, we'll run it, or I'll use it as an example, through the user story analysis framework. It's a Miro board. Everyone loves Miro. Remember, we got lost between the 20 pages documentation and the one-sentence user story. So the Word document is a no-go. That's out of the question. You just don't forget about it. The one-sentence stories, it just doesn't work. All the knowledge and information about that story is scattered across Slack channels, personal messages, emails. Where was that email? Someone sent it. Was it from the product owner? No, it was from the customer. We talked about it. There's always something we talked about and we couldn't find, and we're frustrated. So how to get the team first engaged in defining and refining the user story, and second, get all the information in one place. One neat, structured, kind of fun to use, easygoing, accessible tool that everyone is using already. Well, let's try Miro or any other whiteboard tools. So the user story analysis is a Miro board. It's public on the Miroverse. For those of you who are familiar, for those who aren't, there's a link at the end, at the last slide, with 6 frames. It's kind of exhaustive and too thorough, but it has to be in order to see how much we need to talk about before we feel confident about delivering this story. Text analysis, context analysis, user visualization, a nice acronym. You can't have a framework without an acronym. Goals, needs, intentions, qualities, risks, NIQR. Of course, quality and test analysis. And then the task breakdown, which is not the task breakdown you're thinking about. Text analysis. Read the user story. If you run this user story, and that user story is actually the example in Miro that you will see yourself, throwing crappy sentences, even though they should not be that good, but if you didn't put even the smallest effort to write a catchy phrase for the conversation starter for your team, you're abusing the refinement meeting. And you're really offending the team, because now they start wasting their cognitive load. And imagine they're in the flow, they want to write code, or tests or write bugs and find bugs. They don't want to be taken out and think about something that you will probably prioritize within 2 months, or in 2 months. And you're throwing, as a product owner, by you I mean me, and we are throwing a crappy sentence at them and expect them to start asking questions. But you should have asked me. Well, first, I don't understand what this sentence means. I don't know what's the context. It's full of repetitions. What did you mean? Like one of the developers said, he was a German guy, we would like less prosa. That sentence should be engaging, and it should really drive the conversation. Even though there might be some uncertainties. It could be a little vague, but it should drive the conversation. So we, as product owners, need to put a little effort on it. Scope creep and scope cut. We know what is scope creep. Scope cut is much more dangerous, because scope cuts are all the assumptions authors of user stories make that actually lead to the unplanned work. All these pre-digested user stories. Okay, I will slice it like this, and then the team will start working on this first, and then on this first, and it looks fine, and when the team starts working on the first thing, it turns out that it needs heavy refactoring first, and we cannot deliver it after 2 months, for example. This is get a little boring, but bear with me. Context analysis, something that you've heard for many times. Keep asking why this user needs this, why the submissions manager needs to see the changes in the document. First of all, it's not the submission manager. Second of all, it's the reviewer. It's not the document, it's the submission. They don't care about all changes. They care about who actually approved the submission. We're talking about conference organization here. Why do they need to do the approval? Because the approval must initiate the travel and accommodation communication with the speakers. Why would they need to initiate that? We can do it automatically. So the user story might get completely different from the moment you have written the sentence to the moment the team actually understands what you're talking about. You've got it wrong in the first place. So the team needs the context. What is really the problem we're trying to solve? And why the customer has this problem? Very often, that problem is not solvable with software at all. My favorite part. How many of you have heard developers calling the users stupid? I see some. Yeah, oh, these stupid users. Why didn't they read it? It's there. Why wouldn't they click it? This is how it works. The user doesn't care, and they shouldn't. If our users are tired or excited, like I am right now, they will not pay attention. If they're in a hurry, if they need to take their kid from the kindergarten because they're late, they will not pay attention. If it's Friday late and they need to send this report to their manager before the weekend, and that cure, it takes years, they will be frustrated and they will hate us. We forget we're customers ourselves. We just forget. We here are probably the most tech-savvy people in the world, and we use software every day to build software, and we're frustrated with software every day. Git is down. This Jira is down. I don't know what else is down. Everything is down. Just go farming. And then we forget it, that our users also use software to do their job, to live their life better. And we have a choice, either to call them stupid. We need to be conscious about this choice as a team. Either to be stupid, to call them stupid, sorry, no, or to make their lives better, to improve the quality of their lives, to remember what it is to work with crappy software. This is an alignment spot where we stop, because there have been heavy discussions and throwing ideas at each other so far, and Now it's a pause for the team to step back and look at the big picture and actually challenge the priority of this user story. Teams don't really know the actual priority of a user story. They don't know that and by don't know, I mean they're not informed very often. Why do we really need to prioritize this story? Yesterday, I don't know if he's in the room, but yesterday at the tutorial, one of the participants said, I have one customer that is very picky. He's very annoying. He wants every bit and piece to be fixed and perfectionized, is this a word? And then I have the big customer with 2,000 licenses, and they don't care about the small things. They just want more volume and more features. With how to prioritize them? Well, it depends. For some of you, you'll say, of course, the big one, with a lot of licenses. Yes, but the other one is your CEO, best man, and he brings more business, and they're about to sell another deal. And we don't know all these hidden agendas. Some of them might be not so hidden, just valid business. You don't know that. What are the actual business goals? What are the actual marketing needs? What is the product vision? What is the product strategy? Where are you going with this? We don't really imagine, sorry. Now that we know now that we have identified how our users probably feel when they use our software, now it's time to decide how do we want them to feel after they've used our software. What are the actual customer quality expectations here? And then the technology risks. We don't talk about it so much, and then the business and the product managers are not aware so much. They don't really care, even if we tell them, but I will need 2 sprints to refactor this. It's full of bugs. I cannot just reuse it. I have to rewrite the entire thing. They don't care. If you tell them at Thursday evening, it's your fault. If you tell them 2 sprints ahead during the refinement, it's their decision. Now we're talking. That's a testing conference. Enough with the business bullshit. Tell me something, some testing. Of course, we have to do the quality and test analysis. Start with the quality. How many of you have seen non-functional requirements in the user stories? Okay, 10. I don't count you. You have seen everything. The good and the bad. We're joking about it, right? We're joking. Nobody writes non-functional requirements. It's a worldwide testing joke. Nobody knows what the non-functional requirements are. Not to do any self-promotion, but I have another Miro board with, I've called it quality map, a short title this time, with 55 qualities, 55 capabilities. I've collected them from the ISO standard, from other experts, 55 functional and non-functional quality requirements. You don't need to run through all of them every time for every single user story. But let's say these are, I like those. These are the 7 top that you need to consider. How relevant is performance testing to that user story? What is the risk if the performance is bad, and which type of performance we're talking about? Is security relevant to this user story at all? It might be not, but you need to consider. Yes, take it off. Just consider it, because maybe you will have to do some performance testing. And my team just recently understood. They built a new component, and they were about to release it, and we have these release readiness reviews. I'm sorry, we do, it's bad, but we have them. At the release readiness review, the team was informed that they had to do a performance testing. And there's a separate performance team. And they have heard about this performance team. So you can imagine the state of communication maturity, but it's real life. So consider it. And get the team to panic. I told you engineers are brave people. They don't feel fear. I want the team to embrace the fear that something will inevitably go wrong with the decisions we have just taken. It's inevitable. But it should not stop us. We just need to think, how will we know when something goes wrong? And I'm sure there will be enough talks about systems health and observability and things that are gaining popularity, but for some of us, they sound like science fiction. And how fast we can recover from it. So simple questions. I don't expect that at refinement meeting, we will draft the entire reliability strategy for the company. No, just think about it. What can go wrong and how we can recover from it. We might not be even able to prevent it, and our assumption what could go wrong can be wrong itself, but think about it. It will get us much more ready than if we don't ask it. And then, of course, the happy path. What must always work? What do we need to test it? And for all of you here, probably these are natural and obvious things. But for the product people, for the developers, sometimes they're not. Because I'm a tester by heart, I think in decision tables. Do you know what decision table is, right? Yes. This is how I think. When I read that one crappy sentence, I start writing the columns. So this is what I do now as a product owner too. It helps me think, and it helps the testers a lot. But one developer at a refinement meeting just said, you cannot describe all cases in a decision table. Yes, you can. This is what decision tables are for, to describe all and generate all cases, all flows, all business rules. It's a great user story, requirements tool, amazing requirements tool, and requirements validation tool. But the developers don't know that. So this is the place. All these questions are there to help the team, especially the dark green one. What do we need to test it? And this is very crucial, because we very often figure out that we need a new test environment at the end of the sprint, or that DevOps just changed the passwords for our test environments, or that they deleted our data because policies and security, and where is it? We cannot test. Panic. Yes, panic early. Embrace the fear that DevOps will delete your test environment data. The last frame is the tasks breakdown. And when we say tasks breakdown, we typically think coding, sometimes testing, hopefully more and more, but it's not enough. If you know that you will need a new test environment, why wait for the end of the sprint and send a message to the one DevOps guy who is on vacation right now? Why wait? Teams continuously complain from external dependencies. So all the unplanned work, and then we had a dependency. This task is blocked. Why they are not releasing this? It's blocked. Why it's blocked? It's an external dependency. Well, here's the thing. Make it internal to the team. Tell these people up front that you'll need them in 2 weeks? Why wait? Why build bugs, delays, and frustrations when you can avoid it? Really not build it. Just avoid it. Tell the people up front. And the same goes with all other departments or teams or peer teams or Scrum teams or users or any other stakeholder or any other interaction, anyone you have interaction with and you're dependent and you might be dependent from. Just tell them up front. This is the last frame. So, that's an overview of the practice. For me, I was thinking about how to collect team's knowledge and how to engage the team and how to move towards define as a team and then deliver as a team. We're very much focused on delivering as a team in the good, well-defined and structured agile teams, but the input to the team is imaginary. It's this one crappy sentence. So define as a team, collect all your concerns, questions, considerations, everything, all your ideas, put it in a Miro board, or Miro board, they call themselves Miro. It's after the artist. Developers and teams and testers and teams like the Miro boards. It's no different than a typical retrospective session when you spend a couple of minutes writing your own thoughts and then discuss it with the team and then write what you've learned, what you've agreed. Even though I kind of believe my refinement meetings as a product owner are pretty effective, we forget. We're people, we're human beings, and we forget that what we've talked about 2 weeks ago. So every week, someone from the team asks the question on the team channel, what did we talk about this? What did we decide about this? What was this about? Even though it looks, well, we've been through it, we've written it down, but we tend to forget. So this is a very, if you say, silly technique to use the color cards and note down your thoughts. So when you look at it in 2 months, you will have the answer to the question, what were we thinking? It will be there for reference. I know the first reaction to some of you. I'm absolutely sure that you have it. We will never be able to deliver anything with this. If you have to do this for every single user story, nope. Just leave me alone. Well, it takes practice. It takes practice, and because I know the first question, how many user stories you do for 1 hour? 3. If you need an answer, I tell you right away. 3 or less than 3 user stories for 1 hour. It's a minded-up answer. I don't have the data yet, but I know you'll need that answer. Try at least less than 3, because if you do 8 to 12, it will not work. Do 3. Run it through the entire thing and see how it works. Remove some of the frames, add more, add your own questions. Every new user story will have its own questions to ask, but keep it in one place, accessible for everyone, not scattered across the organization. Key takeaways. The user story is only a conversation starter. It is not the final requirement, but you need to drive your team's attention. You need to catch your team's attention, to inspire them to do that conversation. Life is too short for boring refinement meetings. The sprint is too short for ineffective refinement meetings. We cannot allow this. It's 1 hour already wasted in our calendars. Just make it work with a simple structure, just a very simple structure. There is enough time to do it. 3 user stories. Start with 1, of course. There's one more. Hold on with the picture. And most of all, this is a nice way to engage the team. My team right now have very bad experience with their previous product manager. Naturally, I told you, they're no good of us. We're useless. They told me themselves, we don't want to write the user stories and the texts and the descriptions during refinements. It doesn't work for us. Why? Because of language barriers, because of technology barriers, because of characters, because there's one very strong developer who wants his opinion to be taken for merit all the time, because the product manager didn't know anything about technology, so it's just bad experience. So what I do right now, I don't make them do this. I write the story first, and then we talk. They feel safer this way. They don't feel as if they were doing my job. But it's my experience right now. But they will be engaged, and we will be talking about all these frames, just not looking as we were. I'm running through the checklist with them anyway, but they don't know. This is it. 4 minutes early, so we have time for questions. Find the Miro board. This is the link. You can find me in Twitter under KOLEVA and LinkedIn too. Ask me any question. Hold on. IT guys. I really wanted to make sure to mention the beautiful illustrations. The stick man and stick girl are from this artist, Zdenek Sasek. I cannot make my presentations without them, so he's on Canva and other places. So just check it out and reuse it. Thank you very much. Questions now.
Thank you very much, Krista. So we have around 10 minutes, a little bit more for questions. And I have here, so use the Event app because I have it here and my colleagues are approving it and you can like each other's comments. And also rate Krista's speech if you can. This was your first speech, so on this stage. So congratulations.
Yes, on stage.
We had the last speech among the keynotes and we have a first speech here to start the day, so thanks a lot. Let's jump into the questions. So let's see our next presenter's question. Dénes Orosz, how do you prepare an intern or a junior beforehand to a situation where something went really wrong? So again, how do you prepare an intern or a junior?
If something really goes wrong and they're still new to the, you can feel bad about it, right? You can really kind of start crying, probably. What happened? I'm going to get fired now? I've worked with junior testers, and typically, I don't know if it will go wrong on their first day, but that should be part of growing a person, really, to really show them the previous failures. Actually, testers are lucky, because what I do, especially with junior testers, is to make them run through bugs. And I ask them to start verifying bugs. That's one very, and looking at the PRs that fix those bugs. So this is for me, it's one of the most effective ways for a junior tester to onboard with what could go wrong, what already went wrong, and how it was fixed. So this is on a very practical level. Then on some sort of coaching level, just tell them about your fuck-ups. They will know you do mistakes too. You're a person. We're humans still. We have consciousness. I don't know if that answers your question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next question. How to make sure developers actually read all the info in the ticket/Miro board during the whole DevOps process?
You don't make them read it. You make them write it. That's the big difference. And I was asked last week, I did a workshop on this. How is this different than the software requirement specification? It's not software requirement specification document. It's a collaborative effort for the team. They write their considerations and their decisions themselves. They write it. They establish, of course, given the business and domain context, but they write it. So they don't read it. Nobody reads it. Engineers don't read. So we don't make them.
Thank you. Next question. Like your framework, but where do you see the role of Q&A and testing? The one doing the analysis or the coach towards the developer?
Both. The role of Q&A testing, whether it's, both. We are along the way. We are all the way along our, how do I say it? It starts with quality expectations. It ends with confirming that we've met the quality expectations. And it's kind of a quote, it's kind of a coaching thing to do, but I really encourage everyone to think quality first. What will happen if we fail? How bad it will be when we fail? What are we going to lose? Can we quickly recover? This is already quality expectations. And actually I'm advising everyone when they, if you still have the one sentence user story in Jira and then you have your acceptance criteria, add a third section. What can go wrong? Just add that section. It changes the conversation immediately. It's a very simple thing to do. Add this one question after the acceptance criteria. Then you add it before the acceptance criteria.
Okay, next, let's see a question regarding domains. You didn't mention to understand the domain. Shall we have someone who knows it, or we can start the work without knowing everything?
Both. We have to start the work without knowing everything. We just have to. What I do with my teams, when we don't know everything, we do a spike. It's part of the feature plan. It's part of the story slicing. We start with a spike. We might need more domain information. We might need more technology information. We might need to integrate with a component that we have never worked before. We might need to use new technology. Start with a spike. It's already progress. You're already delivering value to the company. If you don't know the domain, start finding the people who know it. Right now, I'm in this situation, actually. I don't know who asked the question. Who asked?
Who asked the question?
I'm in this situation right now. Yes, we're all there. I had the domain expert as a product manager, and as you heard, yes, yeah. Start with figuring it out, and it's not work. It is still work. It is still progress to figure out what you need to do. And you can do another refinement, by the way. This doesn't have to be one-off thing. Just do a consecutive refinement if you need to. Thank you for the question.
Okay, the next question is from one of our speakers of tomorrow, from Rafael. When is the best time to do the user stories? Before or at the beginning of the next sprint?
Just in time. I know how it sounds, but too early is too early. It will change, and you will forget it, and it becomes irrelevant, and the effort becomes a waste. Too soon before the sprint, it's kind of building a little bit of frustration for the team. The team feels, I'm in this situation right now. The team, we do it literally on the Thursday before the start of the next sprint, because I'm new to this, to being product owner, and to the domain. So I'm getting information last minute from my stakeholders. The team doesn't feel confident. They feel a little frustrated and insecure what's happening next sprint then. So find the balance with your team. If your team is, depending on your team and how well you know each other and how well you know the domain, and do you really need heavy refinement? Is it a new story, a new feature, or it's something business as usual thing? Find the right spot for every story for your team. Make it 1 week on Tuesday afternoon, please, not Wednesday, Tuesday. If it depends on your team, but not too early and not too late.
Thank you for the answer. Okay, do you believe in pre-refinements with just the PO and 1 to 3 developers to prepare the user story for the actual refinement?
No, but we do it. It's a very controversial topic. I'm in the same situation right now. I want the entire team, and I want to break the CEO, if possible, to our refinements. I want full transparency and visibility, and I want everyone to engage and just build the things together. But to say it's idealistic, it's understatement. Team leaders want to protect their developers and their teams from context switching. Some development managers want to take the decisions first and then share it with the team. So it really matters of the relationships in your teams. If it's very high-risky one and very new one, do the pre-refinement do the Three Amigos session. You'll hear about it tomorrow from Martin. Was it his name? Yeah, probably. It's like a continuation of this talk today. Do the Three Amigos in a smaller group, get it, kind of figure out, build a strategy, the plan, okay, we know where we want to get, but how we're going to get there, let's think about for a second, and then do some homework, and then share it with the team and get into more details. It's fine, I'm fine with this approach. It's kind of more reasonable than, this whole room of people refining the new thing.